Today on Abbreviated Bios, we will look at the life of a woman who showed that one of the most influential people of the modern world, Alfred Kinsey, was a fraud. Her name was Judith Reisman. My name is Stephen Yoder. Welcome. Judith Ann Galernter was born on April 11, 1935 in Newark, New Jersey to Matthew and Ada Galernter. They were Jewish Americans who owned Matthew's Seafood in Irvington, New Jersey. Her parents believed the pro-socialist propaganda swirling around the country in the 30s and 40s and became communist. Judith was raised to be a socialist. She could be fairly called a red diaper baby. In 1955, Judith married Arnold Reisman. They would have 4 children together. Judith became a singer-songwriter and producer of music videos for Captain Kangaroo children's show. She also produced educational materials for Milwaukee Public Museum, Cleveland Museum of Art, and the Skirball Museum in Los Angeles. Judith Reisman's life changed forever when, in 1966, her 10-year-old daughter Jenny was molested by a 13-year-old family friend. She found out when her daughter went into a deep depression and finally admitted what had happened. The boy had learned that girls liked this behavior from his father's Playboy magazines. His family sent him out of the country to escape justice. It would later come out that he had raped other neighborhood children, including his little brother. Judith didn't know what to do and called her aunt. The aunt stated that her daughter may have wanted it since children are sexual from birth. She called another friend who told her that virtually the same thing. Judith wondered where they got those ideas from. This would eventually lead her to Alfred Kinsey. Reisman's daughter would eventually die at the age of 28 from a brain aneurysm. Judith always suspected that maybe it had something to do with the trauma from this molestation. Judith Reisman decided to go back to school, and she went to Case Western Reserve University to study the effects of television. She found that the Surgeon General had already documented the toxicity of TV programming. Some of the research going on there included images from Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler. Reisman was looking at how these affected researchers theorized it would wreak havoc on marriages and increase sexual disorders. Reisman eventually earned her doctorate in communications. In 1977, Reisman made a presentation in Wales for the British Psychological Society International Conference on Child Pornography in Playboy and Penthouse. There was a controversy when a pedophile activist was scheduled to present, and the entire housekeeping staff went on strike until he was canceled. Reisman wondered why regular people knew pedophilia was wrong, but educated people did not. A colleague told her to research Alfred Kinsey. Alfred Kinsey was a major influencer of the sexual revolution with his books Sexual Behavior of the Human Male and Sexual Behavior of the Human Female. Among the things he asserted in these works were that between 10% and 37% of adults had committed homosexual acts, that 94% had committed adultery, that sexuality is a continuum, that 50% of rural males had sex with animals, that 10% of the population was homosexual. By the way, the CDC in a study stated that 1.6% was homosexual. Kinsey's claims were hugely influential, changing attitudes and behavior in Americans and pop culture. As she researched Kinsey at her professor's office at the University of Haifa, Reisman noticed that Kinsey used infants in sex experiments. She focused on Table 34 in Sexual Behavior of the Human Male. She inquired at the Kinsey Institute and found that pedophiles were being used to experiment on infants to produce sexual responses. She found their evidence of infant orgasms to be actually evidence of terror, pain, and criminal behavior. Reisman presented her findings at the Fifth World Congress of Sexology in Jerusalem on June 23, 1981. Her presentation caused an uproar with many scientists, unfortunately, defending Kinsey. In 1982, Reisman was offered an $800,000 grant by the U.S. Department of Justice, Juvenile Justice, and Delinquency Prevention to investigate Kinsey's role in child sexual abuse and the link to children appearing in Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler magazines. She was appointed to be a full research professor at American University. The Kinsey Institute put pressure on American University, which then told Reisman she could not study anything relating to Kinsey, violating her academic freedom. The Kinsey Institute also conducted a stealth campaign to undermine Reisman's reputation. In 1986, Reisman completed her 1,600-page report called Images of Children, Crime, and Violence in Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler. The Mies report on pornography came out the same year. 7-Eleven decided to stop selling Playboy and Penthouse, in part citing Reisman's work. Reisman's report looked extensively at the cartoons in those magazines and found many thousands of instances of child pornography. Hustler even had a cartoon character named Chester the Molester. In 1990, Reisman's book, Kinsey, Sex, and Fraud came out. It further exposed the lies and fraud Kinsey portrayed in his research. Reisman was also called in as an expert witness in the Mapplethorpe obscenity trial in 1990. She testified about the connection between anal intercourse and AIDS and stated that pictures of nude children promote pedophilia. The Art Center was acquitted of obscenity. On a 1994 broadcast, Reisman accused Playboy of producing child pornography. Playboy sued her in the Netherlands. Reisman won the case because, as the judge stated, that because of the uncontested factual findings of Dr. Reisman. Reisman later stated that Playboy will never sue me in the USA since their deliberate child sex abuse methodology would be proven in a court of law. In a 1995 documentary for the Family Research Council called The Children on Table 34, the evidence showed that Kinsey researchers abused 317 boys as young as 2 months and up to 15 years of age. Reisman connected Kinsey's influence on the sexual revolution, including Hugh Hefner's conversion to free love, to the rise in divorces, abortion, and millions of new cases of STDs, and the flood of pornography in our society today. Due to the pressure from the Kinsey Institute, Reisman lost her job as professor at American University. She eventually founded the Reisman Institute to educate the public on the dangers of explicit sexuality and sexual exploitation, and became a professor of psychology at Liberty University. She wrote many other books and wrote a regular column for WorldNet Daily. Judith Reisman died on April 9, 2021, just a few days after receiving her second COVID shot. Judith Reisman's life is important for exposing the lies and abuse of Alfred Kinsey and how those lies have hurt families around the world. Thank you for listening or watching Abbreviated Bios, and if you like this sort of thing, please share it or give us 5-star ratings wherever you can. Thank you much.